Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. I've had a couple rough live streams this week, and they were due to the recent ISC about looting containers. And I'm going to start out with a caveat, and the caveat is I'm aware that these are containers that just seem to be at like random locations. These are not necessarily loot that is on a character. These are also not mission reward loot. So it's kind of like the lowest of the low on the loot scale is a random container in a random location. But with that said, I've never been more concerned and possibly disappointed by Star Citizen than I am today. And I want to start out, and we're just going to listen to it because I honestly think that the visuals are a little bit distracting, possibly. I want you to listen to the very beginning of ISC because I think it's the most important to me about the game of Star Citizen.
For me, when it comes to exploring areas in a game, I tend to prefer when I've earned something.
So when you've had to fight to get past some people to get somewhere, you expect there to be something cool to find, something to make it worthwhile.
There are just some things that you just don't go and buy in a store, things that you have to go out and find. That's, I feel, one of the most important aspects of gaming.
And I agree. Okay. So they start out ISC with that. I was fist pumping. I was like, wow, they agree with me. And anything that I felt was important was everything that they said there. But then they went on to the rest of the show to kind of do the normal thing that they do. And they do the, look at this cool tech that we built. And look at what our designers are going to be able to do with it. And like many things that have come before them, I don't know where these designers are or if they even exist, but they don't tend to do anything with this tech that gets built out. We watched a video before, I mean, this is hilarious, actually. We watched a video that is a year old before we started the show today. And it was to give an example of some of the history that CIG has had with things like this. And we watched the year-old video on cargo decks. And they talked about all the gameplay that was going to be at cargo decks a year ago. None of which is there. They even went so far as to say we could have done something simple with a panel. But we wanted to do more. We wanted to be Star Citizen. And they still haven't put that panel in there, and we still can't bring cargo to cargo decks. We have to go all the way down to the admin office, which makes no sense. So if you can't tell, I'm doing my best to stay calm, because for me personally, Star Citizen is at a crossroads. And it's at a crossroads where I think that they can really start bringing in tier 0 elements to the game at a higher level. Just proving that you can do looting, that it's possible, is not good enough anymore. It's not good enough for me. This is my opinion only. Is that just saying that the system works and when we're ready to, we could start bringing loot to the game is not good enough for me. And I don't accept it anymore. And I will not accept this anymore. This is not good enough. Now, before you guys start typing in the comments and freaking out, like I said earlier, I'm aware this is just one aspect of the loot system. But I'm also aware that this is really early on. They probably showed this a little bit too early. And it's possible that during the time from now until 3.15 releases, which who knows when that's going to happen because we're still in the PTU for 3.14. They have time to build off of this. And that's why I think this conversation is important. Very important. Is because as a community, if you agree with my opinion, I think we should really be standing up and saying loot, when loot doesn't matter, isn't good enough. So one of the things that they described, and this is where I'm going to end our little monologue here. One of the things they said is they're only going to be putting in weapons and armor to start, maybe medical things. But if we look at weapons and we look at armor, it's more of a visual preference than it is an actual gameplay preference to choose what sort of weapons and armor you use. Obviously, weapons are a little bit different. There's different types and things like that. But in the end, there isn't a better weapon than another, and there typically aren't better armors than the others. And people are going to reference the loot tables that they showed and all these things, but those are all hypotheticals, and they could be read in many different ways. Some of them that would agree with my opinion, and some of them that would agree with others. And for me, looting without loot is not acceptable. So I think a lot of people are going to expect that I'm asking for something extremely drastic and a really finished and polished experience. I'm not. I'm asking for, if you're going to put loot in the game, to prioritize the idea that some of that loot should matter, and you should have a feeling of excitement or anticipation when you open a container and wonder if what's inside is really going to mean something. So that is my extremely calm and not emotional reasoning behind my feelings around looting. If you want to see my emotions and hear how I really felt about everything and got really unreasonable, I'm sure, in many aspects and in many cases about the subject, you guys can watch my live stream, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. Also, if you guys ever want to take part in an Answer the Call, they start Sunday mornings around 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Discord.gg/SaltEMike is where we take the callers. And twitch.tv/SaltEMike is where we do the live streams. And these will end up on YouTube later in the day. So to jump in to our first caller with Belladrim. Belladrim, welcome to the show. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Yeah, so yeah, was looking forward to talk to you. By the way, in your previous streams, I was known as Tonkatsu, but I changed it to Belladrim because it just makes it confusing since we talked on your live stream just earlier.
Yeah, your voice sounds much more familiar as well, so yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I came I think last week's streams. Yep. But yeah, I mean, first, just a little before we get on topic, I just want to say I don't think there's anything wrong with you putting up your opinion like that. One of the reasons that I love watching your show is that you're first and foremost, well, I mean, you're a content creator, but you're also a backer just like us. And like all of us, I think we all have this feeling where there are times with SC where we're positive and there are times where we get disappointed. And I don't like content creators that for some reason just show an image and choose to either stay positive or just stay negative all the time just because that's how they want to make their content. You stay raw, and you just, when you're upset about something, you tell it. So I get you, and I think it's important that you get your opinion out there, even if I don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah. And just to give reference to everybody, he doesn't necessarily agree with it. We've had a back and forth quite a bit today on the live stream, and people really wanted him to come on the show to discuss it further over voice. So yeah, I mean, you have the floor now, buddy. So take it away.
Sure. I mean, first, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I mean, here's the thing. My reaction when I saw the IC, and they talked about the loot box thing. I honestly shrugged my shoulders. One of the reasons is that I'm not as excited about loot boxes even before the IC came out. I know it's important for a lot of people, but since I'm more really ship oriented, I'm not really interested in the FPS part. Loot boxes have never been super important to me, but I do understand that they are super important to others. I mean, Star Citizen is such a large, it covers so many areas. Some things are going to be more important for some people than others. That being the case, I had this kind of the same reaction as you did, where, I started pretty positive with the first line. And then when I saw the end and I just saw like just a few guns in the loot box, I was like, who cares? So I agree with you. The thing is, I also think that what they showed is just that specific team, and you said it yourself correctly that it's just the team that made the loot box mechanic. Now it's up to the design team to decide, okay, what are we going to actually put in there? Now the question is, and I don't think that's an easy question to answer, is like what are they supposed to put in there that makes it worth it, that makes it like, because that's what we expect with loot boxes, right? We want to open them and like have this anticipation that we might find something great. But when we look at items that we have in game right now, like the armors and the guns, and that there's no real RPG stuff with different qualities and different stats. I mean, there are some stats, but that they're really bare bones, and that's by design. How do you make loot exciting? If there's anything you would have preferred to see in those loot boxes aside from a gun or an armor, what would that be? And I'm not criticizing, I'm genuinely asking because I don't have the answer to that myself. What do you think they should put in there to make loot boxes exciting? Because that's a really complicated one.
Sure, it shouldn't be though. So I'll answer your question with a question first. Is why can they not do it? Why does there need to be RPG elements to the looting?
It doesn't be, but the RPG element makes it simple. Without the RPG, I think there are. I mean, you talked about Tarkov in your live stream. There are games that do this very well. The problem is that they cannot do Tarkov because Star Citizen is not a game. It's not. I mean, it's a game that has survival elements like hunger and stuff, but it's not a survival game. Like the availability of armor and weapons is not the same as DayZ, where we're just like some dude naked in an island and we have to find stuff to survive. It's not the same context as Star Citizen, so they can't really just use the same concept here because the access to armor and guns is plentiful, especially on Stanton. Maybe that would be more relevant in other systems. I don't know, but so. I think that's the problem is not so much the loot box itself. It's how we make loot it's how we make loot valuable in SC. And that's a big one. I think that's something they have to figure out.
No, it's something that should have already been figured out.
I agree. I agree.
And that's the thing that is so demoralizing. And that is the thing that is when you've been around this long, as you and I have, it's very, very difficult to look at what they're doing, get excited for it. And what you asked, what I think should be in there besides weapons and armor, I think it's pretty simple, is better armor, better weapons. But I don't want to take the route of, well, what you need to do is you need to do, mag stripping and all these things, because, like, if I was going to sit here and put my developer hat on, I would say the number one most important thing, if you're going to do the system the way that they kind of displayed it to us so far, is that mag stripping should have been the number one priority. of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because then the simplest thing to do after that would just be provide different ammo types. And different ammo types, some better than others, and the better stuff is more rare. So then you would have reason to kind of replay the loop of, like, I guess using Korea as an example, going to Korea, killing NPCs, looting their ammo, looting the boxes, hopefully finding good ammo, right? There's that, but then there's the visual aspect of, like, you know, maybe getting pirate armor or something like that. Just the skin and the
I
colors,
actually was,
you know, that's a thing.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but
okay.
I was thinking, rather than thinking about armor and weapons, wouldn't it be cool? And I'm just showing an hypothesis here. Wouldn't it be cool? Like, let's say we want to be a pirate, and with that being a pirate comes reputation, and maybe there is a quest chain where a pirate would say, "Hey, for our cause, we need weapons, but because we're pirates, maybe we don't have access to weapons like people do. So we have to find them in unsavory means. So maybe so what I mean is that maybe they could make a quest, because right now the quest that we have, and that's something I don't really like. It's really short-term goal quests. So it's like, go there, get it done, over. I would really like to see quests that, you know, may take a very long time to complete. And for example, that could be, hey, get us like 100 P4 guns for the cause of Ninetales or whatever. And once you gather all of those guns, obviously you could buy them, but that's going to be very expensive. But once you get all of those guns, then maybe that gives you like a big reputation boost, or that gives you a special reward that is linked to this quest. Maybe that's a way to do it, because the thing is, how do we make better armor? Unless, again, we go the RPG route, because right now the armor is it's basically light, medium, heavy, and that's it.
They're all exactly the same.
Yeah. So and how do we make it different without at the same time making them RPG, quote unquote, because that's what they don't want to do. That I agree with that, but see, that's, again, I'm not a game designer, so I don't have the answers, but that's what makes it, I'm not going to say difficult, but it's less straightforward to make the loots worth it, quote unquote, when we don't go the RPG route, because it's not just changing some stats. It's not that simple. The other solution is to just go the full cosmetic route, but you know, for some people maybe that's not enough. You know, cosmetics is just that, cosmetics, and I don't know. It's complicated, man. I think there might be ways around that, but yeah.
Why do we think this is complicated? Like, that's the thing, is how many video games have you played in your life, or have you only played this one? Because it would only be complicated if you've only ever played this game.
No, I'm not saying it's complicated to do. It's rather there is a choice. Okay, I'm going to rephrase that. There is a choice that CIG, and it harkens back to something very important that you said, that sometimes you feel that CIG doesn't know what it wants to do. I feel like CIG, probably when it comes to loot, is still...
Star Citizen doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah, and it feels that this is probably, when it comes to loot, it's probably one of those cases where they're not taking a hard decision yet, and because of that, you know, they don't know which direction they want to go. And with loot boxes coming, it's about time that they make a fucking sorry for the swearing. That it's about time that they make a decision about what they want to do with loot, because right now it feels like they're trying to keep things open. They don't want to take any stand, but they have to do it at some point. I mean, if loot stays the way it is right now, as you said, what's the point? Why would I be excited to loot an armor that I can just buy in the shop for 4,000 alpha UEC?
Yeah.
Yay. Who cares?
And like, here's the thing that is the driving force behind my rage is I think another example, like, to answer your first question, is like, what would I do? What would I put in them? Well, one of the only elements of the game where an item that you place on another item changes the way that item works is weapon attachments. Somebody in chat mentioned it. I've mentioned this in previous days too, as like the number one most obvious thing that should be in these containers is a new, different, better weapon attachments. I think the current weapon attachments, again, are very similar to every item in Star Citizen. When you attach an item to either your ship in Star Citizen, like a new power plant component, the change isn't that significant. And I think the same is with FPS weapons with their attachments. The thing that the driving force behind my disappointment, my concern, and everything is that when we do a patch as significant as this is, and I think if anybody looks at this patch and goes, this isn't significant, this is, I think I would just completely disagree with you. I don't want to put anybody down for feeling different about me, but I would, different than me, but I would completely disagree. This is the first steps to Death of a Spaceman, and this is the first steps to legitimate gameplay aspects in the game of Star Citizen outside of the basic missions that we've had, the super light cargo hauling, and as much as you guys want to call mining deep, the lack of depth that mining provides. So this is like one of the first elements for the game to feel real.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, the way you feel about all this, I can't disagree. I mean, I don't feel the same way because, again, I'm not so attached to the loot box.
I'm not attached to the loot box. I'm attached to Star Citizen being good, and I'm attached to. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to finish the point. Is these things should be like something as significant as Patch 314 should be a company-wide effort to make sure that every team is all hands on deck to make this experience an experience and not they have the ability to do set XYZ thing now. They have the ability to implement Death of a Spaceman, but choose not to. They have the ability to implement cargo decks, but choose not to. They have the ability to implement weapon attachments, but choose not to make it significant. They have the ability to do XYZ thing. This has been the history, and this has been and this has been super the history needs to stop now. For me.
So what you're feeling right now is something that I felt to something you just mentioned, cargo decks. Cargo, and again, many people will not see it the same way, but cargo to me in a space sim game is a huge deal. Like whatever you do in a space sim game, cargo somehow has something to play with it. Cargo is literally how you move stuff in universe, whether you are into cargo hauling or not, it doesn't matter. So when cargo decks were announced, and I was super salty because I saw that video, and besides the video, look at the cards on the roadmap. When on the cards of cargo decks, they specifically say that it's a location where you'll be able to take on cargo missions and escort missions. They put that on the card. How the hell do you not expect the backers to look at this and say, oh, so that means that this is part of the feature? But it's not. It's just the location. So, I don't disagree with you. I really don't. It's just that rather than it's just that I wasn't surprised by it, because now that's what and I'm not happy about it, but that's kind of what I expect. One team is going to do something, but it's just setting up for what they actually want to do with it later. And I agree with you that, this stuff overall has to stop. That's why I was a little bit more optimistic about the new Death of Spaceman's mechanics in 315, when they say, hey, we're done like putting little pieces of the puzzle. We're trying to put stuff like boom, ready to go, as close to our final vision as we can. And that's what they should do from now on, as much as they can, because I think we're done just getting the little pieces and like, oh, but it's just that now, but eventually, who knows when, it will do that. And after 9 years, no, this can't keep going. Like, it's been 9 years, George. You have to start putting things where we stop imagining what it will be and we actually see it.
The most upsetting thing is sometimes they show you, and so you don't have to imagine, but then they don't give it to you. And the whole thing is, it, like, man, they're doing a really good job of making the detractors and the haters of this company and game sound smart. And like, it's really upsetting when you watch every single development video is about only the development. It is almost exclusively about how we make said thing and not why we made said thing, or how you will use said thing, or how you are using said thing, and we're going to work on that feature and change it to balance it or make it better. Like, the idea of this game is, like, the argument of this is an alpha is not appropriate to a game like Star Citizen. Yes,
well, not anymore,
an alpha,
at least.
and it hasn't been for a while for me. Is the idea of this is still a game that is out there, and the intention for us, I think the way they intend to use us on the live server and then the open PTU servers are to say, go out and play. And we're going to gather those analytics and feedback and build the game based off of those. The problem is everything is flawed because the actual game that you're trying to build isn't anywhere on any of those servers. So again, I'm not asking them to make Star Citizen, just finish Star Citizen, forehead. What I'm saying is that you do need to insert some of the elements that you intend to add into the game in maybe a simple form to see how we interact with them and see how we use them. And for looting, it's still up in the air whether or not that it's going to be just armor, weapons, and pistols, and maybe some medical stuff and food. It matters how those things affect the player, because we're not going to use the feature if the feature isn't usable.
No, it's true, and you know, they really need to start. I mean, you know, I'm just personally getting tired whenever I see their content. I'm tired of hearing words like eventually.
Yeah.
This type of language after 9 years. I understand this is a special game, that, you know, it's unique, blah 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 blah. But come on, after 9 years, you can't keep talking like that. We have to be to the point where this is what we're doing. Period.
Somebody who was a kid at 20 years old that had all the time in the world to play video games is now 30 and has a kid of his own.
Yeah.
Somebody who is 40 is now 50. Somebody who is 50 is now 60 years old and probably can't sit in a chair for very long because their back hurts. Like, the amount of time that it's taken is significant. And again, I agree with you. This is a special case. This game is special. It is not mind-blowing that it took this long. The issue here is it's also not an excuse. Exactly. And there needs to be some things. It's not an excuse to not provide the player with something exciting. That's what I want to get at. That's the most important thing to me, is that what minimal elements you do have in the game, the player should have the ability to get excited while interacting with those elements. So cargo hauling, you know, price changes, things like that, randomized or whatever, or mining, the ability to find some kind of jackpot node, looting, the ability to open a loot container and go, wow, I got the thing I've been looking for, that kind of stuff. All of those things, at this point in the game, to me, it's unacceptable that they're not in the game yet.
Yeah, and you know, even the sprint report afterwards, what was it? Visuals. As usual.
Yep.
I mean, it was underwhelming. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the IC, I was And usually they start with a bang to get us excited again, but this one I felt was very underwhelming, to be honest. Yeah, but it's been. I've passed the point where I don't get upset anymore. I just celebrate or get upset when I actually get something in my hands. Like, I'm not gonna get upset about loot boxes. Like, I'm not gonna get upset about the new healing mechanics or the salvage, because at this point it's just impossible to make expectations with CIG. And I'm not saying this to give them an excuse. I'm saying this as a negative. Like, I've taught myself, and that's me personally, to just not expect anything until we actually get it, because otherwise with CIG you'll lose your sanity trying to expect something from them.
Yeah, and for me, it's just telling them what my expectations are. I'm not expecting anything from them, but I'm going to scream from the rooftops and say what my expectation is. And it's open development. They don't necessarily have to listen, but one of the beautiful things about this game is we do have a voice. So,
and I think they listen. Their communication can suck a lot of times, but I do think they listen. Like, you can tell from some of the decisions they've made, and I do think they listen. But even when they listen, sometimes they just shrug their shoulders and move forward and not care. For example, like, and it's a little thing, I know, but people, the complaints about cloning. I mean, I think you can't argue that most people don't like the idea, even though it's just a lore thing. Well, they listened, but they said, we're gonna do it anyways. It's their choice, it's their game. They do whatever they want to do. But I don't know what they want to do with loot boxes. To get back on topic, I don't know what they want to do with loot boxes. But for sure, I don't see. I can't be excited for it if it's just, hey, I'm looting a gal or P4 weapon. Like,
it doesn't change
cares?
the game. It doesn't change the experience that you have now.
I mean, it makes the game more interactive. It makes it more immersive, which is good, but it doesn't make it more rewarding.
Exactly.
And I don't know. I would be interested to see them, I don't know, just tackle like how they want loot to work, or just in general, not just loot. How do they intend to make the game rewarding? Because one of like a lot of people in Elite that moved to Star Citizen recently, one of the main complaints, other than Odyssey, obviously, because Odyssey was just the last straw. The issues with Elite go much further back than that. And one of the main issues is that, the game is just too grindy. It's grindy, and how is SC or CIG going to make sure that they don't fall into the same problem where playing the game is rewarding, and we're not just doing stuff because they make it grindy on purpose? That's still something that's up in the air that we have no answer to.
Yeah, hold on, I'm kind of having an internet problem. It's going in and out.
Yeah, I just noticed on your stream. It's back now.
It'll be what it is. Sorry guys that are watching on the live stream, but the recording should come in fine. Yeah, it's going in and out. I see it going out again. But so I don't know. It's just one of these things where I can't deal anymore with the lackluster additions to features and the lack of playability of the game. There's no reason why after this many years that I can't log into the game and kind of have goals and things to do and achievements to try to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, that's a serious thing they have to figure out, and they should. I agree with you on the fact that they should have figured it out a long time ago, but they need to make that a priority, because again, one of the main reasons people are leaving Elite is because the progression just sucks. it sucks. And many MMOs fall into that trap. So even though Star Citizen is not going the RPG route, how are they going to make anything, and not just loot boxes, like anything worth doing without it just becoming a mindless grind?
Yeah.
That's a big question.
Yep. I guess we'll leave it there, Belgium, because it's been quite a long call, and we have quite a few
Agreed.
people to get to.
And
so.
thank you for having me.
Anytime, buddy. Be good.
Yeah, have a good one.
Talk to you soon. Our next caller is Data Streamer. Data Streamer, hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good, good. You?
Not too bad. So, what do you think? Am I in the background, or is that my voice?
Oh, that's your. Oh, my stream is lagging quite a bit. You're still on my end. You're still talking to the previous caller.
No, it's you and me now. So just maybe turn the stream
Holy
down a
crap.
little bit if you can.
Yeah, it's turned down. Yeah, it's
Okay.
turned down. Holy crap! I was not expecting, because the previous caller was still talking on my stream. That's crazy.
No, that's
restarting. Yeah.
that happens sometimes. But the idea of everything I said, what do you have to add to it, and how do you feel about looting and where it can go from here?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you that looting has to mean something. It's not just like whatever. Like the way it is now is just silly. I mean, there's no plan to it. I mean, you can just buy everything in the shop. It's like completely meaningless.
What if they took stuff out of the shop? That's what a lot of people are mentioning.
That's what I was going to. That was actually why I got in the call. But the previous caller, he touched on it a little bit. But yeah, actually, like, we're getting the cargo refactor in a bit. Or I mean, not the cargo. I mean the personal inventory stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people they don't take into account, like, yeah, the shops is also a problem because you can buy everything in the shops. That's actually a major problem. Like, that's something you don't see in any MMO or any other game with this kind of, let me just take World of Warcraft for example. Like, when you go to a shopkeeper there, you can buy some loot, but it's just a bunch of grays or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And sometimes there are special vendors here and there where you can buy some special stuff. That's there's some vendors like you could buy some special recipes at and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Some of them are randomly, that the recipe spawns randomly on those vendors, but others, those vendors are the recipe is behind a reputation wall, so you can't just walk up and just buy whatever. That's actually one of the main problems we have in the game right now. You could just buy. So
I think they're trying to address that, and that's why, like I mentioned in the beginning, the idea of this being the kind of most basic of all of the loot that you could possibly get in the game is these kinds of things. But the loot that's in the container still should matter.
Yeah, exactly. But to make it matter, it would have to be removed from the shops. Like, for example, to me, it's pretty insane that you can buy military grade equipment in just a store. That's crazy to me, anyways. So that military grade equipment would have to be removed from the stores, put behind a reputation. Let's say you gain reputation with Hurston Dynamics and you get special Hurston Dynamics military equipment after their bounty hunting stuff, or you raid a pirate base that has that equipment there because they stole it from whatever, you know what I mean?
And it's challenging.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. And then you raid the pirate base, you loot their whatever, and then oh no, this guy has an FS9, for example. Like this FS9, let's say FS9 is military grade. Wow, he has an FS9. Holy shit, I can't believe it. Or then you go into a crate and you find an FR76. So military grade shield. Holy shit, I can't believe it. That kind of stuff. But
do you know what got me so excited?
Yeah.
Do you know, you really touched on it here. Oh, wow, the FS9. Well, guess what? this patch in 3.14, you can take the FS9, the circular magazine. I forgot what it would be called, and pull it off of your suit. Yeah, the drum mag. You could pull it off of your suit and drop it on the ground for somebody. So that was one of the things that I was like, oh wow, this must be something that they're developing towards this looting mechanic. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And then they go, yeah, we're just gonna put armor and like pistols, and it was like, well, what about that?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. That would have been.
What about not being able to buy the FS9, but also not being able to buy its ammo?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those kinds of things. I mean, they don't even need to add new loot. They don't even need to add like epic, rare, whatever, legendary. None of that stuff. Like the loot we have now, it's just about how they distribute it towards the player, and the player is like. The player needs to figure out how to get the loot, and it makes it more interesting because you don't know like where it all is, and you're like just looting a container. You're like, oh, am I gonna get it now? I don't know. You know, that kind of stuff. You know, that's what we're missing. And having everything in the stores and just buying it, I think it's a symptom of the alpha. Because I mentioned it a few times in previous, like in chatting with people, like we don't know what's alpha or what's an actual issue. You know, that there's sometimes this like weird, like either like when you're like when players are like, yeah, this is definitely a bug, and then like your CIG's like, no, that's not a bug. That's just because server desynced does something weird. That's what I mean. That's like we don't know. Like they dumped everything in the stores because they're like, okay, let's at least give players something. Or is that really the plan to have everything in the stores? I have no idea. It's like weird, you know.
Well,
so
yeah.
And they don't say anything about it. They don't tell you. They're just like
they did.
You know.
They literally did. They did at the beginning of the video. They said that this is not what we want to do. This is how we want to do it, and they stated that. But then throughout the rest of the video, they go, "Yeah, we're just gonna put armor and these things in here that you already could buy." But then don't state the fact that we're gonna take them out. Like this is
that's what I mean.
This might be the first Spectrum post I ever like really work on and make, because the amount of questions that episode of ISC brings up, and the amount of loose ends, and the lack of information they provide is ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. It's like just like one line at the start of the ISC, and then everything else is like, okay, so what are you changing? You're not doing anything. You're gonna do. It's like so. And there's too much room for imagine. You know what I mean? There's like just one thing, and then like just to like that one little thing, like a little piece, just to get people started, and then that people just go crazy with it. You know that's it almost seems on purpose because they don't know exactly where they're going with it either. Which is, it seems like they don't know exactly where they're going, which is baffling to me because, like you said earlier, it's like year 9, and come on, man, like looting should probably be like one of the first things you figure out in the game. It should have been in 2.0, and it was.
Yeah.
I remember. You would go to Secure Post Korea, and you would click on a bottle of alcohol, and it would give you money. And then they removed it and never built off of it. And this is the grand thing that we removed, like basic gameplay from.
Yeah.
To bring this in.
Yeah.
And like to think that like anybody who was there and played and tried to play the game through all of that time would not be upset by what they saw in ISC is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I mean it started out pretty good with exactly my reaction was the same. It was like the first up until that sunset, that view of that sunset, I was like, wow, are we here, guys? Are we here? Is it here?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, then we're like watching a spreadsheet or something. I don't know what we were watching, some kind of menu or whatever.
Yeah,
and
we're watching the devs talk about how they make it and not how we're going to use it.
Yeah, and there nothing really interesting came out of it. They didn't even say how it's going to be implemented because, of course, that's like for the designers. I mean, the designers, sure, I guess.
The designers that never show up on ISC to explain the design ever.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They never show up on ISC. Where are those people? Are they even there? Do they even exist? I don't know. It's kind of weird. They have a lot of tools for the designers that I have no idea I don't know where they are. So it's I don't know. It's kind of annoying. And yeah, it's like the most basic thing. Just let us loot some boxes. There's boxes all over places. You know what I did a few times? I literally went through every bunker in Hurston and I killed everything and I took all the guns. Like I did that shit so much. It's I can't. I don't even know. I have like hundreds of weapons, and it's like, yeah, because there's nothing else to do. It's like whatever.
Yeah. And you would really
Yeah.
hope that if they put boxes in that you can loot, there would be something different in them.
Yeah, exactly. You would hope maybe like the at least one of the weapons would be different, or I don't know. It's and the boxes. Maybe you can grab some torpedo burritos out of the boxes. I have no idea. That kind of stuff would be funny or whatever, or something useful. But
I mentioned this.
I don't know. This
I mentioned this a couple days ago. What an amazing way to bring in new weapons to the game. So say they make XYZ new sniper or whatever, right?
Yeah.
In the patch notes, the new sniper is located at bunker outposts on Hurston.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You go there, you loot them. It's a rare drop. You eventually get it. Boom. Like okay. Star Citizen, everything's about advertising. Everything's about word of mouth. Everything's about getting the people excited about the things that you buy or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But think about this from a marketing perspective even. Like I'll even go to the things that they obsess over. You drop a weapon into the game, but it's not just given to anybody, and you can't just buy it at a random store. You have to earn it, and when somebody finally earns it, they make that post on Spectrum, or they make that post on Reddit, and people are like, oh, sick, whatever, that looks awesome,
Yeah, exactly.
You never see it until somebody shows it to you in the game. How cool would that be?
I know, you see somebody walk by, you're like, what is that? How do you get it?
How do you get it?
Yep. But that's like the classic MMO thing. You're like standing at the city, and then I've done this a bunch of times after a raid, and I got that epic weapon. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go stand in the middle of town where everybody can see me. I'm gonna flaunt that thing, and everybody's gonna be standing around me like, holy shit, where'd that come from? That's actually like we're missing that.
This is one of the things where it feels like the people who set the priorities have like never played an MMO before, because every reward up to this point, up until Xenothreat, obviously, because that's super exciting. I made a video about how excited I was for that, but it's really important for me to build off of these things. This is what this show's all about. Is that not everything should just be taken and sold for money. That's why mining has no depth to it. It's go mine, grab something, and sell it for money. Go get cargo and do it for money. None of the things that you're moving or using or interacting with have a purpose in the universe, this grand, beautiful universe that you've made. And it basically, for me, makes all of that hard work of making this incredible universe not worth playing in.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the reason that the passion and the excitement and the anger and the upsetness and all the emotions that come out of me are because these guys made this incredible universe that we all want to play a video game in, and they just absolutely refuse to make any sort of a game in it, even if it's basic.
Yeah, exactly. It's also because you can't do anything with anything you grab, like mining. But mine is also like loot. It's pretty much it's kind of the same problem. You can't do anything with it. Well, except for like going to Klesher and like turning it into merits and then selling it. You can there's kind of a thing there. You can kind of do something there where you can like make more money than you would originally make or whatever. But that's like a weird kind of, I don't know, buggy loop thing where like kind of some kind of exploity thing. So it's like weird. So whatever. But I'm talking about like, okay, you can mine Hadanite, but right now it's just like selling it. Who cares? Or you can mine Hadanite and you can actually use it for something like build something or something else other than just selling it for UEC. That's what we're missing. Mine the Quantanium. Sure, you can mine it and sell it, go through a refinery, blah, 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 all that stuff. Or you can just dump it into your Starfarer. I don't know if they...
I agree.
Do they have refineries still? I don't know.
Yeah, They do, but I agree, and I've been sounding that horn for a really long time. But I don't think that's a topic of discussion for today, because I don't think
Yeah.
that I think what you're saying here is just too grand and too big for the current point of Star Citizen. I think it's really, really important that we don't ask them to basically finish the game right now, because that's essentially what you're
Yeah.
doing. You're going, yo, do all this stuff that is months and months and months and months and months of work.
Well, that's what we are asking. Is like it's just an example of like, okay, the depth comes from like synergy between systems, and we don't have that. So I'm just an example of why
I agree.
mining feels shallow, and like looting or anything else feels shallow because you don't like. They just show all their planning is on letting you loot guns, but whatever. Okay, we can loot guns already. I've been looting guns for months in this game, for years in this games. Who cares? There's nothing, no depth to. Even if we get loot, there's no depth to it.
The biggest kick in the nuts was that somebody who works on props, an artist who works on props,
Yeah.
designed the prop for ISC to have a box with a bunch of guns in it. And granted, it is a box that is already in the game, and it is weapons that are already in the game, and he probably took 5 minutes to make it. But to think that that person who made the props could be making props that end up in the loot table, and you're like, and we're just utilizing guns and what, like, it is crazy to me. Like, the thing here is not everything even needs to be usable. Sometimes they could just be unique. Like, let's use the Vandal mask for an example, and I've used that as an example 1,000 times. That Vandal mask drove me to play the game more than anything ever has. The CDF armor, which is probably going to be some stupid reskin of armor we already have, is something that is going to drive me to play this game more than it ever has. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, that is my way of gaming. That doesn't mean it's the right way. That doesn't mean it's the only way. That is what drives me to game.
Yeah, but that's an MMO, right? MMOs have people. I've seen people like saying like, "Oh, CIG wants to do all kinds of games in one," but that's pretty much what an MMO is normally. MMOs have a lot of different types. I mean, like WoW as an example. Again, you can do pet battles in WoW. It's like pretty much Pokemon Trainer in WoW. You can do that stuff. You can do raids. You can do just like questing, just solo questing, whatever. You can do all kind of PvP. You can do all kinds of stuff. There's like all kinds of games wrapped into one. And that's not really a big problem in most MMOs. And that CIG is trying to kind of like do all these kinds of things in one game. It's not a big deal. It's just that like there's no meaning to anything that we're doing now, you know. And I don't. The whole prop thing, like, even if it's like some weird like thingy that you could just have and just like kind of like pull out and like kind of show someone, that would be like amazing, you know, if it was just some whatever, like a Pico ball. If you could find the Pico ball, you could like actually have the Pico ball in your hand, equip it, and then like just have it there. People be like, "What the fuck is that?"
And where do you get it? How did you get that?
And where do you get it? Yeah, it would be at least something.
Exactly, you know? And that's the kind of thing that I'm saying is, you got to gamify this game at some point. And there's a lot of seemingly simple things. Who knows how simple they are in Star Citizen's development, because they seem to just make everything super complicated. And more complicated than it needs to be, but the simple thing is, you know, what is that? Where did you get it? How did you get it? Like, that feeling from players is something that's really cool. And to tell them, go to Hurston L3 and buy it, that's not a game.
I mean, I've had that. I do that the cow helmet when I first got it. Like, I don't know when, whatever. I was at Everest Harbor. I was just standing there, kind of like looking at my mobi glass, and somebody walks up to me like, "Hey, where'd guy?" And then I see in global, "Hey, guy at Everest with a cow. Where'd you get it?" I'm like, "Oh, wow, this is amazing." But then it's like, go to Grimhex, whatever. Okay, cool. Like 10 minutes later, he had it. Wow, great. You know,
I got This call has been 20 minutes. We should probably go to the next caller warning. So I'll tell you to kind of make your final thoughts now.
Yeah, well, that's kind of it. I mean, it's like loot has to mean something, and we can't just have all the loot available within 10 minutes of just any location we're at, and just buy it and just be done with it. No, they have to remove a lot of loot from the stores. Only civilian loot in stores. All military loot should be behind a reputation wall, or you loot it from pirates, or if you're a pirate, you loot it from Hearst security or whatever. You raid their bunkers or that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That's pretty much where I stand on that. That's pretty much it.
And to possibly not have any of these elements ready to go on your loot patch is where I say this is unacceptable. And
that would be unacceptable.
Development needs to come in line together, and like every other video game kind of does things like that. In my experience, they're like, all right, this is what we're focused on right now, and these are the elements that we're going to bring, and they're going to work with each other, and that's something that Star Citizen just doesn't do yet. And again, it might be unreasonable to ask that specifically, but I think if each system even separately worked in a way that there was some simple gameplay type mechanics to it, I think it would be a lot better. But yeah, all right, Data Streamer, we'll let you go, man. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate
no problem.
I enjoyed your insight. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to bring in Michael. Michael, what's up, dude? Can you hear me?
Hey, Mike, how are you, mate?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. All right, I guess we'll get into it. I've got to head off to bed soon. It's 11 o'clock at night here, but we'll crack on for it. With, I guess, the loot system that they're bringing in, I think the one thing that I picked up on in the chat was, in the live, should I say, was that they sort of just described so far the loot was just reskins for a lot of it.
Yeah, they mentioned paint color, right? Like, that's a thing we can do.
Yeah. So a lot of the armor is like, I can make it red, and you can have red armor. Like, we already have red armor, unless you're just going to make it, everyone gets gray armor, and then you have to go find spiffy colors in loot boxes, which is,
hey, I'm going to say that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that is not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
It could definitely be worse, but it's not ideal either.
Yeah. No, it's not ideal. Like, transmogging, borrowing from WoW is super important to people. How you look at things, how you look, how you dress. People want to look a very specific way, and I actually had to create notes so I wouldn't forget what I was going to talk about tonight. Dressing up to show off is really important. That's MMOs in a nutshell.
100%.
Honestly, what we're going to get doesn't sound like it's going to be enough. I would rather they just go, hey, we're not going to bring it in. We're just going to release it when it's at tier 1. We're not tier 1 or tier 2. It's just not going to come in at all until we get to that point.
Someone made the argument that then nothing in the game would come out. I disagree with that, but yeah.
And then, how is this even going to work with physicalized inventory? Because isn't 3.15 physicalized inventory as well?
Physicalized inventory is just taking your armor or your clothing off and putting it in a closet, basically.
Exactly. So if you're going to be going out to these loot locations, and all you've got is a single seat, you're a new player, all you've got is Aurora or a Mustang, where are you going to put this loot? If you're already wearing armor, what's another suit of armor going to do for you? Where are you going to put all these guns? You got to carry this stuff somewhere.
Yep.
So
you swap out the armor, I would assume. If there was better armor than what you have, you would put it on.
But if you're a collector and you want to collect stuff, you're going to have this armor. Where are you going to put it all?
If you're
Like,
a
there's no
collector
point
and you want to
bringing
collect stuff, then you should probably have a ship with a cargo hold in it, dude.
exactly.
'Kay.
But how's the armor going to stay on your ship when it's going to probably 30k
It's probably
and
going to be in a
disappear?
box. We can't.
Exactly.
No. We're not going there. We're not going the 30k thing. You can't. You cannot go there because the idea of a 30k affecting your gameplay is not the reasons why we're discussing how the gameplay should work. You cannot develop around 30ks. That's ridiculous. But they show the armor in a box in the UI. That's probably how it'll play out. Is that when you pull it out, you're not going to have the armor in your hand. You're going to have the box in your hand. Would be my guess. But I have to stop you on that. You know, I got to call you.
Yeah, no, that's understandable, man.
Okay.
I guess the main thing for me is I want them to use lore reasons as to why we can't have armor or certain weapons. So going from a lore perspective, Castak Arms is pretty much the civilian arms and weapon manufacturer for armor and weapons.
Okay.
So in Port Olisar and all that, you know, Castak Arm stuff is all you can buy. You know, if you want to get Clark Defense System stuff, you're gonna have to get really good rep with Crusader as an example. You know, there needs to be, with this loot, stuff needs to be locked behind a rep wall. So weapons you can't unlock, and then armor you can't unlock. And then if you want to get that, if you don't want to bother with a rep grind, you can always go to looting. You know, or if you want to get Ninetales armor, you're gonna have to loot it from somewhere, loot it from pirate bases.
Yeah.
And you know, like going and doing a big mission where you do, say, Xenothreat or Ninetales Lockdown, going and taking like a Ninetales suit of armor that's been damaged from a guy you've killed as a trophy. You know, that stuff's going to be important, but I'm not really sure what we're going to be really getting at the moment, and I'd rather just hold off completely than bring us another tier 0 system that's going to get 5 minutes of use out of it. Yeah,
and that's the I guess that is pretty much agreeing with exactly what I'm saying is the fact, like, hey guys, look, we can do it, is no longer acceptable. It has to be done. Like, the system doesn't have to be complete, but the system has to be functioning and at a basic level. So, like, you know, if we're going to use the tier system, yeah, a 1 or a 2. Now, a 0 is no longer acceptable to come into this game anymore. It just isn't.
Yeah.
It's not appropriate.
Yeah. And you know, having stuff, you know, bound behind rep walls means that you can also bring in, hey, you're not allowed to carry weapons if you're not a really high rep bounty hunter, or you're not good rep with the Ninetales, you're not allowed to carry a weapon in their pirate bases, or, you know, if you're not good with Crusader security, don't expect to be walking around with a gun on, you know, Horizon or any of the space stations near Horizon, you know, and and then it's like, if you want to do that, you know, get guns and get all that, you're going to have to either grind rep or loot these weapons, or, you know, it's just there's so much more this system, to me, sounds like it really needs, and there's so many other systems that it needs support from to make it have any kind of end game content. Like, because loot is going to be one of our end game contents, and
I mean,
I really don't know how they're going to get to there.
It is like, you know, to use their terms, it is a pillar. It has to be.
And I know a lot of people, I did see a lot of people in chat talking about Tarkov, and, you know, I do play a lot of Tarkov when I get tired of Star Citizen, and, you know, Tarkov is really good in the way it does loot, but the way they do their loot at the moment, which is something I struggle with, is once you know, get your Gamma case, you do all your quests, and you get all your hideout fully upgraded, you know, there's nothing really more to do except for just do raids, kill shit, and make money. Yeah. There's nothing, once you've done all that,
Star Citizen basically speed runs that.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like this is going to be like with Star Citizen. It's like, it's going to be very faster because they're going to bring in a much less detailed system, and then we're all going to go. It's like my issue with Xenothreat. You know, you're going to have 2 weeks of content and then a 10-week content drought. And because you had that massive 2 weeks of content, it makes the other 10 weeks of waiting for the next patch feel like there's even less to do than there is before.
Yeah.
And I think Access Rate says it really well. When money is endgame is boring, especially when CIG said that selling credits was going to be their main way of making money when the game comes out.
Yeah, that's again a topic for another day, but I do agree with what you and Raid said, is that that is the end game right now, is just watching your money go up, or taking it and then buying a ship that doesn't really change your experience. Is the items in the game need to improve or change your experience more than they do now. And like for me, it's one of those things where if we're not prioritizing something like that at this stage, especially if you're going to be focusing on things like looting and inventory, where the items are being placed, the items that you're placing need to mean something in order for us to use them and place them places.
Yeah. And, the big thing for me is that in combat, light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor at the moment makes no difference. You get shot by 5 bullets and you die, no matter what armor you're wearing. So if they bring in this loot system and all you've got is light, medium, heavy armor, and that damage reduction really doesn't do anything because our health pool is so small, and tier 0 medical gameplay may change this, but let's leave that to the side, because it's not relevant. It's, if this loot is just more light, medium, heavy, it makes no difference to the way I play combat. What's the point of me going and doing that combat to get this loot? What's the point?
What's the point? That's the thing, is congratulations, you put in a 1990s looting system, but you never gave me a reason to use it.
Yeah, and they're going to have to bring in more than just a red skin. If it's red, I want it to go, hey, if you've got red armor, then it's really good against energy weapons. You get 40% normal damage reduction and then 30% extra against energy weapons. Or if it's, I don't know, you could have it made of some weird material that makes you blend in with desert stuff better, or blend in with forests, or, make it camouflagey, because at the moment everyone's bloody bright yellow or grey cat armor, which will be coming out, and all the subscribers will be wearing that next month.
There's a chance
everyone's gonna be bright orange.
There's a chance. I believe it's on the 315 roadmap. The radar scanning and ping for FPS. It might have gotten pushed to 316. I'm pretty sure it's 315. That if they do that, then armor needs to have additional values added to them. So this is the part at the beginning of the show where it's like they still have a lot of time. They still haven't shared a lot of information with us, because we're looking at 3.14 armor and going, all right, the only value that we see is the damage reduction. We don't even see, like what you mentioned, there should be laser damage reduction versus ballistic damage reduction. These things need to exist. And the fact that they're not existing yet is still crazy to us. Those things need to exist. But then on top of that, the sound that they make, and how much they emit certain things, how stealthy they are, all those things, if you're going to put the scanning system in, that has to come into it as well. So there's still this level of like hope that because they're working on other aspects, that somebody is going through the armor and dialing them in to make them unique and different and worth something. So I'm crossing my fingers, but today's show is really to express how important that is to me, or how anybody else feels about their level of importance, or not, or whatever their opinions are. But my opinion personally is like, man, these things are incredibly important, and I gotta just shout from the rooftops and say, please, 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 do something.
For me, it's kind of like as I said, they're constantly walking on eggshells, and right now, right in front of them is a big old eggshell, and I'm not sure if they're taking a light step or they're just taking a massive jump onto it, is how I'm feeling with this system.
Yeah, sure.
So, we're going to need to see armor modification more heavily. So, if you want to be a bounty hunter, you want to take an armor that's potentially going to make you, say, run faster so you can pursue someone. It's going to have like energy packs, so you're going to have a bigger energy signature so people can scan you faster, but you can chase your target down. And then, you know, you might want to have wrist-mounted stun system so that you can go, when you get up to a target, you can punch them in the back of the head and, you know, taser
Sure.
them effectively.
But this is
So,
3.30. So what's 3.15 then? We'll leave your call with that so you can
3.15
get some sleep. What is like in an ideal world in 3.15, a realistic 3.15, what does it need to be?
it needs to have,
be acceptable, I should say.
they need to make it so that anything above, let's say, basic light combat armor, as I said, like Castak arm stuff and a pistol, needs to be locked behind loot and rep, as
Okay.
far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
So if you want to have medium and heavy armor, you're going to have to go find it yourself or grind a rep to get it. That is how I feel, that otherwise there's no point. Because what's the point if I can go buy it? I don't want a reskin, I just want a gun that works or an armor that works.
Okay. And I don't think that's unreasonable.
And
I think that's
the system's
reasonable
there.
and could be done. Yeah, all those systems function.
So,
All
and
right,
then,
Mike.
you know,
Yeah, well,
I'd
keep
like to
going.
be able to pick up med pens and stuff in the field.
I think that's definitely something that's going to happen for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're just going to be
All
med
right.
pens because we got that medical gameplay coming. So the more we hear,
Yes.
the more either happy we can get and hear that these extra elements that they're adding to the game are going to be implemented into the looting system, or we can get extremely upset because they aren't.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
So I'm trying to be hopeful, but as I said, there's a big old eggshell in front of them, and they're either going to lightly step on it and skip over it and make us all happy, or they're going to jump straight into it and crack a massive eggshell, and we're going to have a really pissed off community. So
Yep. And right now we're somewhere in between. We're just
Yep.
like concerned. But all right, Mike, we'll let you go there, buddy. Get some sleep. I know it's late, so be good.
no worries, guys. Thank you so much as usual.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye. All right, and our next caller is Quams. Quams, what up? How's it going? Quams, can you hear me?
Hey Mike, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, loud and clear. So, how?
I can't hear you. That's bad.
Uh-oh.
That's really bad for whatever reasons.
I don't know. You sound kind of robot-y, so maybe it's the internet. In some part, my audio.
Oh, okay. Sorry, man. I can't hear you. If you can hear me, I think that's just something awfully wrong. Take the next one in and push me up, or I just drop out.
No
Because
problem.
I really don't get any feedback on my side, and I don't have my regular headset. Sorry about that one.
No worries. All right, we'll bring in Kale Carden then. Kale, can you hear me, buddy? He's muted at the moment, but I think he can hear me. Kale? You
Yeah,
there?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine.
Hello?
Hello, I hear you. Do you hear me?
Rock on.
Awesome. It scared me. I thought it was on my end. Yeah, so Kale,
Nope, I'm only hearing you through the stream. Stand by.
what is this? So that's both sides. Like I've been having this issue where randomly my audio is changing throughout the day. So this could literally be me. But I don't know. Give me 1 second and I'll try and deal with the issue here.
Yeah, you're lighting up in the in Discord, but you're not I'm not hearing you come through, and I've got you turned up.
Because everybody could hear me. And now they don't. Nope, everything should be fine on my end. Yeah, I don't know. No, everything's
All right,
working.
there might be a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, I guess I'll just disconnect and reconnect from Discord real quick. I'll try that. Go back in. Hello, can you hear me now?
Not through Discord. I've only got you on the stream. Sorry.
Can you change your audio in Discord so your Discord is hearing is on the same audio device as I just would imagine both of you guys have the same issue where Discord audio is not playing.
It is
through
on
your
the same
headphones.
audio device. I've got everything running through my headset.
Okay. I got everything running through my mic, so I don't know what to do. You have the floor, dude. Feel free to share your opinions then.
Yeah, I'm double checking right now.
Because I don't know what to do.
All right. Well, I will lay out a couple things. I've been taking notes on some of the other callers. So you covered this a little bit.
I can hear
You
you listening to the
wanted-
stream.
You wanted loot to mean something. You wanted loot to. Oh,
Gonna
can you
have
really?
to. Yeah. But you're gonna have to hear anything I say. Yeah, hold on. Let's have
Right.
Michael rejoin because let's just
I
confirm
was so
that
excited
this is
because
not.
I'm a first-time caller.
No, we'll get this. We'll get this, Kale. Don't worry. Let's have Michael rejoin, and then I can bring him down, and then we could see if it's a you issue or a me issue. And if it's a you issue, then we'll get you guys figured out before
Copy.
we bring you back in. You know what I mean? Or anybody. Wait, he just left, so that doesn't work. Michael, join the green room again. Yeah. There we go. Mike, can you hear me?
All right, give me a sec. Let me just turn off the chat. Just try talking again.
Talking.
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, it's their end. Okay. I thought so. We'll try Qualms. They need to look at their audio and make sure that Discord audio is going through their headset. And that's it. And they don't have me like muted or something. All right, Mike, I appreciate it.
Mikia Krakenov, part 2.
Later, dude.
See ya.
Bye-bye. All right. Qualms, we'll try you again. Can you hear me? Crazy.
Oh, I'm completely. No, sorry. Something's completely wrong. Would like to have to talk to you, but something in my setup is completely broken.
No problem.
Man, sorry for the effort.
No
See
worries,
you around.
guys.
I
No
hang
worries.
up. I think that's the best to do and try it again.
No problem. All right. So I'll talk on regular for a few minutes. Kale, if you hear me, message me via DM, and I'll try to get you ready to call because I heard how excited you were, and I'd love to talk to you too. So yeah, I mean it just comes down to just to throw my opinions out there. Also, yeah, any last minute callers can pop in as well, and we could throw you guys in there that don't have their Discord owning them like Discord likes to do. So yeah, it's hold on, I have to look on my phone to read the DMs so they don't go on the screen. Okay, he thinks he got it. Output was default. Kale, can you hear me? Testing, Kale. Test.
Yes, I think I can hear you.
All right, awesome. Yay.
Fantastic.
We'll bring you on then. There we go. And then there's your name. Perfect. So, Kale, welcome. I'm glad we got
Thank you.
on.
I appreciate it. Yeah, so am I.
You have the floor. You have your notes. Bring it.
Yeah, Raj. Okay, so I agree with you that loot absolutely needs to mean something. For me, this initial implementation of loot, this tier 0, if you will, is they're checking the functionality of their persistence database, their services database, all the databases they talked about that run for Quanta and run for making sure that you get your stuff when you log back in. They're checking all of that with the persistence database. I don't know if they're gonna like sneak in being able to sell stuff like when you loot it, like you go to a cave, you wipe out everybody there, you grab all the guns, you bring it back to Everest Harbor or wherever, and then you get to sell it. Which
I believe that's later down the line. That's somewhere on the roadmap later.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things I'm kind of hoping is that, you know, like, all right, they get this loot in and they see people log out, log back in, and it's still in their inventory. And then when Answer the Call rolls, or not Answer the Call, sorry, when CitizenCon rolls around, they will
Same thing.
They'll drop it and be like, all right, cool, here's where we're taking loot and this is going live in the next patch, something like that.
Yeah, it would be nice. Like, I am totally for them building off of something basic, but the definition of basic in Star Citizen is it's time for a change for me. What do you think about that?
And that's fair. I totally get that. Their basic has been implemented about 5 times now, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And not just on loot, but like in everything. Because I remember watching some of the early Wingman's Hangar stuff where like, yeah, you know, we've got the Super Hornet and you've got your 25, 50, 75, 100% destruction, and I'm going through and I'm modeling each one of those by hand. And now it's like, now we're on procedural destruction. It's like, I get it, and I'm happy to wait. You know, I've been a backer since 2013, so I'm just, all right. Like, it's cool what it can do now, but when are we going to get basic functionality and not just basic stuff here?
I think, and you and I backed around the same time, I think we're all comfortable and totally fine waiting for the finished product. But when are you going to deliver me a product to play?
Right.
And like, that's the thing is like, they keep saying, I don't want to redo work. I think we did a podcast about this recently, is like, I don't care if you have to redo work anymore. I'll wait longer. My level of patience grows as you give me something to do. The more that you give me to do, no matter what level of basic, if it's foundational or if whatever, the more you give me to do, the more my patience grows for you. And I think that's what they need to understand, is that in order for their community to become less impatient, they need to give them something to do, and they need to stop focusing on the world that they're building in. Like, I don't know about you, but and I'm sorry, I'm kind of taking over your call a little bit.
No, you're good.
I don't know about you, but if they completely stopped at planets with Hurston and went full balls to the wall on how are we going to make features and gameplay and interesting and fun play between planets and space, and focused 100% on that, I would have tons of patience with this game.
Yeah, like if they had populated Hurston with things to do, like
before going on to the next planet.
Right. Yeah. You drive here, mine this, drive back, sell it, get cargo, fly it from the Hurston building to a mining outpost, like fly some supplies out, and then you fly back with unrefined ore, and then take it up to Everest and get it refined. Like, I would be down with that, honestly. I do know that sometimes I have a nebulous definition of progress, because that's what we want, right? We want progress on the game that we want to play. I tend to live in the imagine. It's both frustrating and fun.
Sure.
But I'm like I was actually going to bring up a point one of your previous callers did. I was going to say, well, why not make the stuff in the shops cost ridiculous amounts of alpha UEC, so you can either grind it out, like flying safe missions, cargo missions, whatever, or you can go raid bunkers and find that stuff there. But the other caller kind of made it even better with everything's locked behind either a rep wall or a loot wall.
What about this? I meant to bring this up, and this ties into what you're mentioning. what if all of the subscriber armor and items that people buy on the website are in the loot container?
I'd be okay with that.
I'm okay with that too.
Because I mean, yeah,
That's the
they say
coolest stuff.
everything.
It looks the
Yeah,
best.
everything that you're supposed to be able to buy on the website is supposed to be available in game. So I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Hopefully they start implementing the loot a little more closely in the events. I'd love to see the next big event past Xenothreat include stuff that you take from like pirates or something. One of my notes is like you go capture a ship. Like you have to have a small strike team. Basically, you go capture a ship. You steal you have to collect weapons and armor until you can outfit your whole team, and then you have to infiltrate an enemy base and blow it up from the inside. I think that would be a lot of fun as like a big event.
Sure. But then, yeah, you're living in your imagined world too.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
The whole thing for me is it kind of ties into what you were saying before, but is almost the exact opposite. Is like you and other people seem to be looking for tangible progress on the game Star Citizen, and for me, I'm looking for them to go, all right, dude, here's a couple like little crumbs, and you know, we're gonna kind of sprinkle out a lot more crumbs for you to play and for something to do in this really cool looking world while we make tangible progress. Like that, for me, it doesn't have to be huge levels of stuff. It just needs to be something to do in this really cool place that they've made for us to play a video game in.
That's fair.
And then I can be patient on when the tangible progress happens. But it should at least fall in line with their design document of how they think certain things should be played, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know one of the other games I played, we went almost a year without any sort of content while they tried to optimize the game a lot because it was not well optimized, and people were like, why is there no content? Like, and they're like, we told you why there's no content. And I worry that if they striking that balance between giving the breadcrumbs so that people stay invested and interested and stay playing the game, and making that tangible progress is definitely a line that they have stumbled onto either side of, and to me at least, haven't necessarily stayed on very well.
Yeah, I agree. It's tough. This is tough, and it's also tough to like discuss this without being like, this is how you should do it, or I know more than you, Mr. Game Developer. It's really, really difficult to be like, listen, guys,
right, yeah.
like this is just how I feel. Like I had to explain to everybody why I was so emotional about this, and I didn't really do this on the podcast. I did this on my stream. Like, yeah, this is actually a caveat I should have put in at the very beginning, is I come from the perspective of a content creator in a game that has no content. So it's not easy to be to not get like overly upset about these things, and to not be like, give me content so I can make content. That's not fair either.
And
right?
And you're trying to make this your job, like, and you've got like the occasional zero to hero.
But it's not CIG's job to make this my job. It's mine.
Right.
So the whole thing is I try to come at it from the perspective of a player who just wants to play the game. And the content can come from there, but the most important thing is to just be like, yo, like really look at this game from a wide view. Like there was a couple comments earlier today. Well, if they just fixed the desync, or if they just fixed the frame rate, then you would realize how empty the game is. Like the only thing you would notice is how there's nothing to do then. And then you would be crying about that. So the idea of like the same example that you just gave, like, oh man, I played this game and all they did was optimize and they didn't add any content. You got to do both.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to do both. We can't just sit around here and wait for you to make server meshing like we have been for the last 6 years.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not appropriate. It's not acceptable. You got to do both. But
All right.
yeah.
Well, I covered most of my notes. Most of the other callers covered what I was going to write down, and so
Yeah.
I don't. It looks like you got somebody else next in line, so I don't want to hold you up. But yeah, I had a blast talking to you. It was nice. It was nice being on the show for once.
I hope you and your notes come on again sometime soon.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, Kale.
Have a good one.
Be good, buddy. All right, and our final caller for the day. No, Michael, you're not coming back on. Michael wants to come back on and talk some more, but he's already had his opportunity, and it's now C Dizzle's turn. So C Dizzle, yo, what's
To be
up?
fair, I'll probably end up going short here because I'm a complete dunce on this game.
Well, yeah. Do you even play it anymore?
I haven't played this game in like 2 years.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. Neither is anybody else.
Yeah.
Anybody who logs
Like-
in still isn't playing. They have the same experience playing the video game as you do.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But
So,
I ended up
thoughts
tuning
on
in a
looting?
bit late. So I probably missed a bunch of points that got covered.
That's
but
fine.
so let me ask a question before I give my question.
Okay.
With the loot that they're saying that you're going to be able to find in these caves and whatnot, are you going to be able to sell any of it?
I don't think initially. I would have to look at the roadmap, and that's here. I'll actually do that real quick to double check
Okay.
and give you like the proper answer. But I don't think initially. It may not even be on the actual release view. Selling is set to finish middle of November. So not until the last patch of the year. So this is the second to last patch, and selling might be done for that final December patch. Yeah.
Because whenever I hear people complaining about things that are coming into the game and stuff, the first thing my brain always skips to is how they can use the shitty thing that they're giving you for good things.
Sure.
So, what if you had gun commodity cases that you could fill up but only sell when they were full, or something along those lines? So, like, you'd go down to this crappy whoever cave where they're hiding out, and it's a poor gang, so you're only gonna find like crappy equipment and stuff like that. But if you find like 20 handguns, that could be something. But you can't carry 20 handguns. But what if you could carry a case with 20 handguns?
Yeah, or make a mission that goes, I need 20 handguns. We're gonna, me and my gang are going to, raid a base later this week.
Yeah.
So that's just like what they're looking for. Yeah, I like that. I think that's
But I
pretty
mean,
cool.
then again, that's all really contingent on being able to sell the things that they want you to find.
Yeah, and it's also still just like, what do you do with the money after you get it? Still nothing.
Yeah. But I feel like that's always been a problem in this game because there is no progression beyond purchasing.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we talked about today is this is where you make the progression behind purchasing. This is where you implement items that you progress towards. This is where you do all that. This is one of the most crucial patches that has ever existed in this game. And I do not want them to drop the ball on it. And it feels like they're going to after that ISC. Feels like they're going to do the same silly crap that they always do and go, hey, these are all the tools that we can use, but you know what? I don't feel like it.
Yeah. Like I think you might have kind of mentioned something like this when you were first like venting about this, but I don't see how they get to a really fun spot in this game without having some sort of unique items.
Yeah. What do you mean by unique items, though?
Like maybe you down some famous drug boss and he's known for having a gun that's a bit stronger than everybody else because he's some sort of tech guru and he modded his gun.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
So
it
now
seems
you've
simple,
got like
doesn't it?
the top rifle that has like 25% higher firing rate or something like that.
Yeah, and then the best thing about that is in this patch as well, you can loot other players. So if you kill the player that has that gun, now you get it.
Yeah.
And you never did the mission.
And I hate that I have to say this live on one of your podcasts, but NK Sharp has the best point. gun modding like any other modding or modern game.
Yeah, I mean, I touched on that. You probably didn't hear it earlier in the show. It was like the most obvious thing that should be in the loot containers is weapon mods, and they built a system that allowed for weapon mods, and then they went, yeah, not going to do anything else with that either. You know what? We could do it if we want, but yeah, we got other things that we need to do. And I think that's the theme that needs to really stop with the game is if you're going to do it, you got to bring it up to a level of where you did it and not prove that you can do it.
Yeah, and
because
if you
the weapon
don't
mods
use it,
don't
tell
really
us
do anything.
why.
Yeah.
If you're going to take the time to develop and not implement something, let us know why you didn't use it.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to have a bunch of screaming nerds on the internet saying, "Where's my blah?"
Yeah, I'm tired of being that screaming nerd because of the
Me
way
too.
I'm communicated to. It's super annoying, dude.
Like, I drive to work watching you on my, or listening to you on my way to work, and I, scream at my steering wheel sometimes.
Yeah. It's just,
And I don't have any investment in this game anymore.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. Like, here's the thing that drives me insane is that through all of my, angry moments about this and how I'm really, 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 really worried at this point about this game, people defended them. People defended this behavior, and I don't think it's defendable. I don't know how you can defend putting in a cargo deck, literally telling everybody what gameplay you're going to put there, and a year later have not put it there yet. And then likely do the same thing with a looting system. Already did the same thing with paint. Harvestables, what do you do with that? There's countless times where they've done this. How do you continue to defend this behavior? It's beyond me. And I will no longer, I never have, and I never will. Yeah. I never will defend this behavior. This is always going to be something where it's this is not acceptable to me. I bought into this game to play it while you developed it. I did not buy this game for you to show me how you're going to develop it and then never do.
And I think a lot of people think Star Citizen has so many vocal defenders because people are so monetarily invested in things.
Yeah.
Excuse
Bless
me.
you.
But if you look at anything else in the world, anytime someone has a lot of money invested in something and it's not going the way they want, they're always pissed to the point of forcing change. The reason Star Citizen has so many vocal supporters is because everyone's so emotionally invested in this game.
Yeah.
And they don't want their hearts broken.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the other elements is that the idea is if you hold them accountable, the game might actually fail.
Yeah. Hey, stop pressing them so much. It might collapse. This is a house of cards. Stop blowing so much.
Yeah.
Somebody has to. Yeah.
Somebody has to. And it's just, I'm not blowing that hard. I'm asking for some really basic shit, dude.
Yeah. And even if you were, it's you can't blame someone for blowing hard.
No. Everybody needs somebody to blow hard.
Yeah.
You know?
And boy, are you a blowhard.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just it just I'm at my wit's end with some of this stuff, and at times in my streaming career, if that's what you want to call it, I feel like I've been unreasonable in my expectations. And at this point, I feel like I'm extremely reasonable, and they so far still cannot even remotely reach my expectations. And that's scary, dude.
Well, I mean, have they ever needed a reason to actually nail a deadline or a promise? Because every time they miss it, we give them more money than we did last time.
Yeah, well, I mean, this year they made less, so that's a good sign. But we'll see. I mean, you don't want them to make less money. You want people to give them money because the game's exciting.
Like,
know?
we want them to succeed, but we want them to succeed because they're succeeding.
Yeah. It's true.
Like, I think we're all kind of done rewarding, or I can't finish that sentence. I don't know what the hell I was gonna say.
Yeah, rewarding bad behavior, basically.
Yeah, I guess.
So it's weird. It's hard to say it's bad behavior either. It's like, yo,
Yeah.
we want to put these features in and we want to make sure they work, but we don't want to have to redo work later when XYZ feature comes in. But at some point, like, the game blew up into whatever it is now, and like that sentiment makes sense in some aspects, but for some things, like the actual way you interact with the game and the actual way that you play the game, for me that's no longer an excuse, and that's just how I feel about it. And you know, I kind of wanted to hear what other people felt.
Especially for a game whose biggest like advertisement is that it's built upon the backbone of modularity, yet so many systems rely on the next one thing.
Yeah.
And then once we get that thing, actually they're kind of all relying on this next thing too. So like,
Well,
when does the
realized that thing
modularity
didn't
aspect
work.
come into play?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Because modularity is supposed to be, okay, we have the thing and now we can plug this thing in, and it may or may not work, but it doesn't break everything else.
Yeah, it sort of bothers me today too that the type of community that I built is always going to agree with what I say, and nobody really came on it and was like, "You're an idiot." I was really hoping somebody would come on and be like, "You know what, Mike? That's unreasonable," and nobody did, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Well, I think you are hanging that on your initial reaction to it and not letting it backfill with your explanation of it on the back end. Because at first, I was like, man, he is off the handle.
Yeah.
I
Well, I mean, dude, they literally start the
gasket.
ISC with like the perfect explanation of what needs to be done to make this game fun, and then go red armor. By the way, you guys excited for some red armor? I am, and I'm like, what is this shit?
And then he comes back around like, no, we can literally only have it pull red armor if we want.
Yeah, and
like,
I'm
he backs it up at But no, like, by the end of you explaining why you were so mad, I think everybody kind of got it at that point.
Yeah, I want somebody to tell me how I'm being unreasonable, and I can't find anybody. So therefore, it should probably be in the game. I don't know, but all right, Dizzle. I guess
you have
we'll
yourself
call
a swell day.
Yeah, I'm gonna hang out with the wife and relax.
Okie dokie.
All right, Dizzle, be good, man. Thanks for calling.
Drop a gray ad in the chat.
All right, bye-bye. Everybody, that'll do it with today's show. I appreciate you guys watching. Yeah, like, sometimes I want to feel better at the end of today's show. I still don't. And this, again, the saving grace, and we'll hold out for time. Time is our friend here and not our enemy in this situation. Is they do have a bit of time to share more and address some of the concerns. I am absolutely going to write a Spectrum post on my live stream with the chat for the first time ever, and I will link that Spectrum post in chat, and you guys can feel free to add your comments in on that, because I don't know what else to do but to reach out and say, please help me understand why certain things aren't being done. Please help me understand what your plan is for the loot tables. Please help me understand what your design direction is, because this video, all it did was provide less answers and more questions. So that was it for me. I think it was really exciting how they started the video, and then really upsetting how it ended. So we'll have to see kind of if they respond and what plays out with that. So guys, that'll do it for today's episode of Answer the Call. Looting without loot. How does that work? I don't know. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you leave a like if you're watching on YouTube. Comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. And, yeah, if you're watching on Twitch, this will be on the show later. And if you ever want to take part in and answer the call like some really awesome people did today. You can stop by discord.gg/SaltEMike as well as twitch.tv/SaltEMike Sundays starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next week, and I'll see you on Week in Review tomorrow.